just to recap a very small thing. The special thing is because he got influence from Beethoven and Salieri, and then when he died, he influenced this like Busoni, Debussy, which that he wrote that the concert etudes and so on extensively for piano. Actually, his legacy, it comes down until like Johann Strauss, even Debussy, then of course Ferruccio Busoni, like one of the most virtuosic composer and pianist ever gitu loh. Jadi memang sosok Liszt kalau mau sekarang saya simpulkan itu seperti BTS atau enggak Blackpink ya, superstarnya zaman itu gitu loh. Jadi semua orang bilang ya kalau udah ada konser Liszt itu 10 detik udah habis soal semua. Kira-kira begitulah. Dan sama seperti saya merasa Liszt itu sangat spesial gitu. Nah, oke, jadi salah satu yang menurut saya sangat spesial karena me myself as an arranger gitu. Saya tuh sangat banyak belajar bagaimana cara Liszt itu mentranscribe sebuah lagu. Dan even Liszt can play everything in the piano. Kan begitu ya. Gitu. Jadi dulu kan tidak semua orang bisa menonton opera secara langsung. Mungkin karena tiketnya mahal begitu ya. Makanya Liszt itu seperti mau mengenalkan opera-opera itu dan memberikan ke rakyat-rakyat biasa. Dan menurut saya itu adalah sebuah langkah yang sangat fantastis, yang sangat genius dan sangat memasyarakat begitu ya. Apalagi kita orang di Indonesia kan sangat suka dengan yang namanya memasyarakatkan dan mencerdaskan bangsa gitu. Okay. Oh. Should I okay, maybe Pak Jo, just want to ask you, do you
Yeah.
want to use English better or we use Indonesians, right? And of course, as an arranger myself, well, I think because at that time opera was the ticket to enter an opera show is very expensive. Only the people who can afford to pay for the ticket can watch the opera. Only maybe for the bourgeois and all the rich people. So he himself, he want to transcribe into piano solo, so everyone can listen. Oh, this is how Wagner, Tannhäuser sounds like, for example, right? And then there's many like Sonambula Fantasy and many many composers that usually only in the like in Milan or in Viennese opera house you can listen. So basically Liszt is like a BTS or Blackpink on this era. Okay, so well, I named these people because I really learned from them, like Busoni, Ziva, Rachmaninoff, Godowsky, blah blah blah. And he himself is among the first nationalists. We know that in Romantic era, everyone's writes in their own sense, in their own emotion, without a really rigid and structured form. And later on, it followed by the contemporaries like Bela Bartok, Georgi Kurtak, Ernst von Dohnanyi, Zoltán Kodály, to research all these folk elements, which later on these elements is become important. We know that Bartok wrote a microcosmos, and then there's many elements that is really from Central to Eastern European, and eventually we know like we in Indonesian. We also have these elements like gamelan elements, right? The pentatonic elements, and even in China and so on. So I will say this list really give a kick, an idea how to write music based on your own identity, which I think this identity is really important in music. So and last without a list, no, I still this I also very well. When I was writing this list, I try to find who is Liszt disciples, and whoa, I was so excited the whole night, and I was the Liszt descendants of Liszt. I was like, whoa! I was in the group chat. I was like, oh my goodness!
Wow.
I was telling my girlfriend, oh my goodness, I'm the 1, 2, 3 Liszt, Moszkowski, Joaquin, Cesar Santana, Minkowski from Manhattan, and Aaron Shore. And also to me, it was like, whoa, okay, this is no joke, So Me, of course, I'm so excited, and I'm sure many of you who have the chance to study, also, to study abroad and meet all these good and fantastic teachers. They are also have this they will taught you the legacy, how this and the Hungarian school of playing in your in your piano technique and stuff. And also, let me see, yes, the last but not least, the French romantic. Well, we know Liszt born in Hungary. He resided in Weimar in Germany for such a long time in his prime years, but actually he is by heart a French romantic. We know Paris at that time was the cream of the crop in Europe. Like everyone wants to go to Paris, even now. If not Paris, then Vienna. Now maybe it comes to New York City, and maybe now China is the boomers. But that time it was Paris. Everyone goes to Paris. Even from Bach, last time, if you know, like Bach suite, even Bach himself, a German, he write all suite, the Bourrée, Allemande, everything is French Baroque dances. This really shows how influential and how substantial this French can influence the whole culture in Europe by that time. And the second thing, why I was so immersed with the Liszt music to me, because he wrote everything has a story. It's a programmatic music. We know that Berlioz have a symphony fantastique with a huge narrative story. That even himself, he writes stories from beginning to the end. Movement 1, you are doing this. Movement 2, you meet your love. Movement 3, oh, you meet a devil, and so on. It's a very fantasized in some way. And this is also, a very influenced by Hector Berlioz. And then I think personally, if you see a list title like Transcendental Etudes, which later Lyapunov also do it in Russian way and so on, Année de Ballerina, Harmonie Poétique et Religieuse, Le Jodo de Via d'Este, and many, all, if not all, then most of his pieces are named in French. We can see all this French syllable, French alphabet here, right? So I really think this. I really want to emphasize this. Okay, like what Miss Risa just now. Maybe later we have some question. So we have to bear in mind that French is really historical and also very substantial in his life by Liszt. So yeah, I think that's all from my side.
Uh, that's great. That's a great explanation, right? Thank you so much, Wilson. And then can I have your autograph probably? Because you're a student of a list, right? Okay, thank you. All right. Now, the next, of course, I want to ask Vincenzo before we go to Payo, of course, right? Maybe you have a different thought about it. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to share the screen. Where is my? Yes.
Vincent ini dulu ikut itu loh, the huge list competitions yang di Utrecht. Itu
Wow.
dia wakil dari Indonesia yang pernah masuk hanya 2, Vincent dan Levi Gunardi. So
Wow.
that's a big proud for the nations, yeah.
Yes. Wow. Great.
You all should listen to his playing of Liszt. Bikin saya minder.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Johannes that introduced me a lot of Liszt music when I was studying with you. So he gave me pieces like the first piece I learned from Liszt is the Consolation number 2. It's very beautiful in D major. And then he gave Pak Yo gave me B minor sonata. This was the greatest piece for me ever. So for me, what's special about Liszt is like magician. yeah, with his technique called thematic transformation. Yes. So when I learned Sonata B minor, I was amazed by this. For instance, if you look at the first motif here, okay, I take my score. So if you took the first motif, it's a very devilish. Yes. So like this. Sorry. And then he turned in the few pages later, he turned it like a magic. So it's here it's like dolce con grazia, so from and it became the sweetest melody ever. Okay, that's the first example. The second example, which in the same sonata, you will hear this also this very I don't know, yeah, devilish thing and very verführend. Yes. Um, yeah, like it's like they feel laughing. And a few pages later, he turned it also to the sweetest melody. So, and then with the accompaniment. It's for me like a magic. So that's the first thematic transformation, and then the second one. Could you all hear it clear? See clear? Yes. Okay.
Yes, all clear.
And then LISZT output is very various and very rich. I think it's because his personality and his hardworking and his interest is in all kind of music before him and in his time. So I mean it's proven in his transcription of many songs, many operas, yes, and also his interest in literature. Yeah? For instance, Goethe, Faust, he wrote a symphony from this. And I try to brainstorm uh, with words that kind of describe his music. And here uh, yeah, very romantic. For instance, Liebesträume, yes, and programmatic, yeah, Mazeppa Etude, Faust Symphony is influenced by literature, yeah, and Satanic, Mephisto Waltz, and quite unknown piece, Scherzo and March, but I think it's very so it's very devilish and religious, of course. And his a cappella work, this is also very beautiful, you know? And virtuosic, of course, his transcription of Paganini Etude, yeah, impressionistic, Jeu de alla Fila d'Este, you mentioned before, but Vincent is influenced Debussy and Raphael, and the love of nature also in his Anne de Perinach, for instance, in his time in Switzerland. He composed something like the Storm, Orage, something like this. It's like thunder, it's like shock, and also depressive. also. I played one of his piece, late piece, Schlaflos, Krag und Anwat. It's translated is, I cannot sleep. Schlaflos bedeutet means, yeah, cannot sleep, and then question and um, answer, yes. And Nuach Gris, the gray clouds, also very depressive. Also, thirdly, uh, pioneer of modern music, especially in harmonic way. Yes, even in the beginning of the Hungarian Rhapsody, well, it's unresolved, the harmony. So and then it's like it's hanging in the air. It's unresolved. I mean, if you see a page later, he resolved it to the C. That's resolved, but it's unresolved. So it's also I mean, Wagner in his Tristan, for instance, his Tristan overture, also unresolved harmony. No? Resolved would be resolved, and also Schoenberg. Is unresolved, is hanging in the air. Yes. Here I have an example. So bagatelle sans tonalité. It means bagatelle without tonality. Yes, without tonality. So we hear at the beginning, we just hear the music. So it's really a pioneer of modern music. Yeah. Um, Also, he is a master of orchestral piano writing. Yeah. I played one of the most challenging, technically challenging piece. His transcription of Wagner Tannhäuser overture is crazy. So let me share again. So if you see the score, the full score, orchestral score, so the melody is in the blast instrument. Yeah? Pam pa ti ti pam 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 pam. And then the strings, the violin, and then you see here how Liszt transcribe it for the piano became menjadi. So here the melody pam pam, and then pam 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 pam, and then he used like two great register. He used the here para in octave martellato, and the effect is very great. So let's hear the music.
Wow, thank you so much, Vincent.
Kalau dengerin Vincent main, bikin saya minder, merinding dan minder. Bagus, bagus banget dengerin.
Yes, thank you so much, Vincenzo. Mungkin next time langsung ada konser khusus kali ya for with Vincenzo ya. Okay, so how about kalau dengan Pak Yo sendiri, what special about you about LISZT sendiri gitu?
It's actually very interesting combinations ya. Tadi Wilson, he is also wonderful composers and arrangers, and you can hear also in the YouTube like he is giving tutorial like how to make cadenza. Like it's really good. You should watch. Like really, it's very important for us pianists to be on the shoes of the composers. So that we can appreciate much more and we can see a lot more things in the music. So, and Vincent is also a conductor now. You are studying conducting, right? Doctoral.
No, yeah, yes, I studied conducting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just finished. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Liz was an awesome conductor as well too. Well, for me, the special things about LISZT is from a different aspect. LISZT is so multifaceted person, individual. So like, for me, he is as a wanderer and a poet. So this is what I would like to share. I would start my lecture by observing the connections between LISZT and the gypsies. But first, let's take a look at the hardships the gypsies have as they. Now, we often think like we glorify the nomads, the gypsies, like, wow, they have like freedom. And the music that LISZT brought into his compositions really speaks about that freedom, but also the reality behind that freedom, the difficulty, the hardships. So that's what I would like to bring us to awareness about the hardship, ya, kesulitan-kesulitan as itu pengembara. So not just the freedom, but also the cost of that freedom that they have to embrace, to bear. Live life as nomads, even one place to another. This reality behind the scene. We often one-sidedly glorify the life of nomads as having infinite freedom. That's true, but let's not forget the other side of this advantage. First, the hardships socially, having no citizenships, which means it is difficult to find work or working under low payment. They also receive negative stereotyping such as uncivilized, uneducated, or even being regarded as beggars or thieves. And not to mention the racisms they must suffer from, in addition to their lacking communication ability in terms of the local language. They have not much time when arriving into a new place to learn and master the local language. Now about their living condition. They must survive extreme weathers, mostly on their wagons. Having minimal possessions to carry, mostly were horse traders. And imagine when someone is ill, life could be really miserable, even though they have good knowledge of herbal remedy. Also remember, they must face the situations in which they were never to see again the deceased, while their family bond is quite strong. How heartbreaking this must be. Nature is a home, a sanctuary, a dwelling place where the gypsies belong to. Even though migrating is the way of life, there might be a longing deep down in their soul and mind, the longing to settle down just like normal people. There could be a feeling of being as a rejected group of the society, or a group of people that does not fit into the normal society. This explains many of their musics are in minor tonality. Since I was young, like I was very attracted to the Hungarian Rhapsodies of LISZT. Really, the Hungarian Rhapsodies, I used to listen to, we had that cassette technology. I don't think any of you may know that technology, cassette and then cassette players. So I really love the cassette in which Tamas Vasari played many of the Hungarian Rhapsodies. Those was my very, very first loves among few other pieces, but the Hungarian Rhapsodies, I listened a lot of them, as a teenage. That's the age when you feel the world is all yours, all the freedoms. So appropriate his music, because his music speaks about this freedom, the natures, yeah. But I was puzzled, like, why it's in minor and it's kind of gloomy. So, I mean, I realized that it's also talk about the reality of life beside the freedom. But on the brighter tone, they have a very close attachment to nature. They adore and have deep respect for nature. This is poured out into their music that expresses the grandiose nature. Its charm, like in the spring times, or its magic, like in the autumn times. Or it could be its terrifying power during the storms, or its indifference in the coldest winter blizzards. Amidst the hardships of life these gypsies are facing, they found ways to entertain themselves when they have gatherings, such as at nights in front of a campfire, like their acrobatic skills, dance, magic, or music. These skills are at the same time very essential to earn money for a living. They were known as highly spectacular street musicians. So the connections between LISZT and the gypsies is the fact that they were wanderers. Let's see what happened between 1823 and 1827. That was between the age of 12 to 16, the age of puberty. So LISZT himself was also a traveler because he was a traveling concertizing as a prodigy. LISZT was a traveling prodigy under the management of his own father. This would give the impacts similar to those what the traveling gypsies had, close and strong affinity to the majestic nature. But at the same time, the sense of longing because this young LISZT did not go to school as kids at his age. Hours on the road were spent reading philosophical books, and this truly builds his wandering minds, which leads to the wildness and the freedom at heart and mind as an individual. Beside boats or wanderers, both LISZT. So if you also learn about LISZT's controversial lifestyle, and because he lived such a very, very long life, I think one of the longest living composers, it's very, very controversial, like so many transformations of his lives, different kind of things. For example, he started as performers, and up to his 40s, then he transformed to be almost exclusively as composers while he conduct throughout his lifetime. But that kind of controversies in his life, I think it has its origin when he was young, because he wasn't going through formal educations at school, and he was traveling a lot. And remember, at that time there was no airplane, so they spent so many hours, like going through the vast fields of nowhere and nobody's there. So, and LISZT, I'm sure LISZT was mesmerized and overwhelmed by the grandiose natures that he had to spend for many hours during his traveling. As I'm trying to bring something different. And the gypsies are poets. They express their love of nature and their adventures poetically through their music. It is not just the freedom and the improvisations, but they decorate their music with poetic gestures, which pose a particular challenge for the performers. No other composers traveled as much as LISZT did. And here were some places where LISZT took residencies. For me, I found the connections between LISZT and me in a way that I traveled a lot as a kid. My father loved to travel during the school breaks twice a year. My father always took us to travel by car to different cities in the central Java province to visit our relatives. I also traveled a lot as a kid by train with my grandparents since they did not drive. And this is why I enjoy very much nowadays being a traveling teacher to different cities in Indonesia. Lastly, I am not a poet, but I do love poetry. So that's my love for LISZT. How?
Wow, it's a different perspective, of course, gitu. Jadi kalau kita udah dengar tadi ya from Wilson and then from Vincenzo and from Pak Jo, three of different perspective of how LISZT is very special personally for the three pianists here, right? So since we are talking about the Hungarian Rhapsody number 12 in C sharp minor, so I think I'm gonna ask the questions again about the piece itself. What do you think about the piece itself personally? What's so special about that piece, right? So I'm gonna ask maybe straight away to Pak Jo, and then I'm gonna like rotate again, right? Go ahead, Pak Jo.
Well, there are many things. I don't know what Vincent and Wilson would speak. Are you going to speak about the orchestral aspect or what? Maybe I will go less. I'm going to touch whatever they haven't touched.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna bring the rap, you rap everything, right?
Yeah, because I already have the lectures on YouTube, so everyone can watch. But
All right.
would like to hear from Vincent and Wilson.
Okay, all right. So you heard Bayo, right? So I'm gonna do
The young generations.
narration. Okay, so Wilson. So what do you think about this piece? Because it's very a lot of things, the material that is in it that can be brought up, right? Go ahead.
Okay, so let me share a game. Yeah. Okay. So, well, in my perspective, first I learned this way back in 2013 when I was still in Singapore time. I still remember that. Uh, at that time, if I mean maybe Pajo saw me when I was still very very young. I was so slim and so small, like only flesh and bones, something like that. Skeleton. Now I'm so fat, maybe. So when I was assigned by my teacher at that I was in Singapore, you have to play Hungarian Rhapsody. I was like, oh my goodness, it was massive, and it was not suitable to my posture. It was, when you receive a piece, usually what you were thinking is like, okay, is it suitable to my technique? Is my hand big enough? Is it used to, some pianists, you have your own forte. For example, people like to play running notes. They are very good in scales. Or some people are very good in octave. F, or some people are very good in chords, for example. So not everyone are the best in interpreting every music. I mean, we have to agree everyone about this as we are musicians, right? So when I was receiving this piece, I was like, oh my goodness, I am so small and playing these big pieces. I'm concerning my posture at the first time. So I was starting to check about this Hungarian Rhapsody. If you play before an album called Piano Pieces for Children with a green color, you have a gypsy dance. But at that time, I didn't know what is gypsies. So I was trying to look at the library and then found this found this called gypsies. What is the gypsies people? And then this gypsies, like what Pak Jo mentioned in the beginning, it was like endless wandering, like a nomad people. Which Pak Jo just mentioned. Actually, I was already, everything here is what Pak Jo already mentioned, so I will talk less about this. So I will more focus on the instrumentation of the Hungarian traditional instead. Okay, so I was in Hungary. I was visiting the LISZT Academy twice before, and then look at the street in Budapest, yeah, and in some of the smaller village. It has these street musicians led by the solo violin and cimbalom. Cimbalom is a dulcimer, Later I will show you this one. If maybe you know this one, okay? So you can see how Hungarian cimbalom really replicate the Chinese instruments. Okay, so we know there's a Western orchestra, Western instrument that maybe 99% of you have already known. Hungarian cimbalom is more sophisticated or exquisite instruments because it's not so often you can find it. But the Chinese version Yangqin, you can see in the Chinese orchestra. Okay, so maybe in Indonesia, we don't really have that influence or experience us watching Chinese orchestra. But myself, I mean, I was working in China until now in Chengdu University. I watched so many times my university's Chinese orchestra, and there are a lot of yangqin. This yangqin is like the weight of the yangqin is like the cello. In Western orchestra, 60% is a violin, first violin and second violin, and then cello, and then a double bass. But in Chinese orchestra, I mean, because I wrote for Chinese orchestra before as my assignment, you need the most instrumentalist is erhu. The erhu, the playing erhu, and then yangqin is like the third most people. And then followed by zhongren, pipa, and so on. Okay, so this is the Chinese version Yangqin, which I'm very sure it brought back from Marco Polo's time when he came to China for the first time and bring back to the Western, and then this Chimbalong was eventually being introduced to imitate the Chinese Yangqin. That's what I believe. So if we go back again, this Bohemian orchestra, we have these flutes, clarinets, a little brass, a cello, and double bass, and they are wandering on the street, playing and busking. And then one thing that in Indonesia or in Asian culture, this busking culture is actually quite, we will look at more negative side, right? Like, okay, oh, this is busking, okay, don't close, don't close to them. Okay, sometimes we have this kind of inferiority. I would say, I'm not saying insecure, but inferior to them. But however, that's how the gypsies find money. As what Pak Jo said, you have to find money somehow. You need to make the ends, you need to put the food on the table. So you need to play as a group, these flute clarinets, and create these gypsies dances. That's why we know Brahms also wrote extensively Hungarian dances, okay, and Bartok later. So this I took from this LISZT own handwriting book. There's the Bohemian et de la musique en Hongrie in 1859, which is actually just a few years after he wrote the Hungarian Rhapsody number 12. Yeah, so we can see the cimbalom here. You will play with these two stick, like the two, like a feather, a very small. You see, you play with this very small little stick, right? Very little stick like this. So you play juxtaposingly 1 and 2, intertwining each other, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So this how if I mean now I don't have a real grand piano in the moment, so pardon me with my humble digital piano. So it sounds like so it sounds like it's very oriental sound actually, this motif pattern, and it later on it was transcribed to the piano playing. So I think I really, from when I was in primary school, I really adore LISZT that much as a transcriber himself. Okay, so we can see this how he really imitate instruments. I mean, I also when I tour in Scotland and a few parts in Europe, when I was still active, I often make the title, the theme of the recital, transcriptions. It's because of this, like you play the Bach, Chopin, it's all transcription, or Bach, Busoni, even Raphael himself, Laval's, everything it was transcriptions. So I really so absorbed to this idea of transcription, and even he transcribed the other people's music. So let's go back to the gypsies again. There's two substantial elements, which I think the first one is the tempo and the rhythm. Okay, so when I was doing some research a couple of days ago, actually among the 22 LISZT pupils recording Hungarian Rhapsodies, okay, there are 22 in total, okay, 7 of them are playing this number, which is among the most. So 7 pupils of from the 22 in a whole, yeah, playing this 7, and then they all play slightly different. So in this I can conclude personally, subjectively, he really have a flexible tempo and rhythm. And even he wrote in the book itself, that's now the book, there is only one rule: no rules. Unlike if you are playing mazurka or waltz, the mazurka you have the emphasis on the second beat, like for example, 1 2 3 1 2 3, or waltz or like maybe like just the Mephisto waltz, 1 2 3 1 2 3. So 1 and 1 and 1, you always have the first emphasis on the and it is a very consistent. Whereas this Hungarian Rhapsody, there's no, you can take even the rubato where and where, and there's no such thing as a certain way to play. The second thing is the ornamentation from the improviser. Well, as a good pianist, as a good musician, I believe we have to be a good improviser as well, like Chopin, Liszt, Bach, and so on. Okay, so let's look at this. This is actually from from Liszt himself. We can see he improvised of an Eingang. Okay, maybe you will ask me, Eingang? What is an Eingang? We know it as a cadenza. So what is the difference between an Eingang and a cadenza? Well, maybe everyone, you already know what is cadenza about. Like, this is how I write a cadenza. Like, for example, Beethoven cadenza. you know, and so on. And then you have the cadenza where you have to show your virtuosity and improvisations skill at the same time. That was improvisatory. And then another word that I want to use improvisation is extemporaneous. Everything is extemporaneous. Extemporaneous means you are spontaneously playing at the same time. You are not planned before. Okay, so this is how the Beethoven cadenzas, which later on Liszt wrote 9 Beethoven's symphonies, as you know, in a piano, because not everyone can afford a ticket to go to the concert hall, to Musikverein and so on. No one can. So he write the Beethoven complete nine symphonies, right? So if we are going back to just now, the Eingang. Eingang is a short cadenza, which usually you play in a cadential point. So for example, this in D flat major, right? And then you're playing in 1C or 164 in the second inversion. And then it's a very special, this Rhapsody, because he used Oriental, you see? Very Chinese, right? You see? It's a very Oriental. So you can play everything, every black keys. Do you know? It's a very pentatonic. So this gives me some idea. Oh, okay, so actually Liszt also have that Oriental elements input in the Gypsy's melody, which like wow, in my opinion. Okay, so let me continue again. I think that's yes. I think that's all from me. I talked so long. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, right. Thank you so much, Wilson. Wow, that's another perspective, of course, and I believe Vincenzo also is gonna have a different one, right? And then Payo also. So it's very interesting, yeah, about a Hungarian Rhapsody. A lot of things actually. I think for Wilson, this is just a short time, right? Yeah, I think you can talk about it like 4 hours probably. I'm so sorry, Wilson, for next time, right? Okay, so back to Vincenzo. What do you think about this piece, especially for you personally?
Yes, I will share again.
Yeah.
So as I said in the summary, I think this piece is like a theater piece for piano. I think Liszt is here is like a movie director directing the actors. So if you see in this B minor, the indications con intimo con sentimento intimo in his with the very uh, intimate feeling. So it's direction not technical, but it's like direction to give to the actor, yeah. Or in the 10th transcendental etudes, there is disperato, desperate. You have to be desperate. So it's indications for yeah, a kind of actor. And there is a lot of recitative, which means it's like speaking, yes. And it has nothing to do with the 3 4 4 4. It's written like that just to in the system, yes. But it has nothing to do with the metro. For instance, if you studied recitative, che sussurro, che strepito, che scompiglio mai questo, for instance. So what a chaos, what a noise. So you cannot, what a chaos, what a noise. So you have to be free, like speaking, yeah. And other from that, it's just a very theatrical settings. For instance, I found a really interesting, but this is my personal opinion, because also maybe because I right now I do a lot of opera. So in my opinion, for instance, in this passage before the alla cinarese, so I just play a bit. I found interesting similarity in Bizet opera Carmen, which is also a gypsy settings, yes. And in one of the scene, it's called how do you say? So there is three gypsy women, so Carmen, Mercedes, and Faquista, yeah. And they are talking about their future. So they using these cards, tarot cards. How do you say it in English?
All the time.
Tarot. And they discussing, oh, what happens in the future. So the Frasquita and Mercedes talking about, oh, I will have a lot of fortune. I will have great lovers. And then when Carmen sees her card, death. And then, but it seems like in the opera, so is after Carmen sings this wonderful, depressing, so to say, arias about death, and then it's like Bizet right in another sentence. So the two girls talking about their fortunes and lovers and everything. So I will skip a bit. Forgive me. So so this is the ending of the Carmen aria, and then the transition to the lady that doesn't care. So and then the girls talking about their wonderful futures. No? So it's like a kind of equivalent with this. So he, for instance, I imagine this is like Carmen talking about her death. Something like that, yes. Okay, so that's my opinion.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Vincent. I didn't know you can sing.
Yeah, I am surprised too. Awesome.
Very good, Vincenzo.
Maybe you should invite him sometimes as a vocalist, right?
Yes. I think despite your English is good, Vincent, despite you are in Germany.
German. Yeah,
I
also
think
great.
if is perfect Deutsch, kita nggak ngerti semuanya. Gimana? But thanks.
Yeah, I nearly warned him actually. Don't speak in German, right? Nobody could understand it. Okay, all right. So I think go ahead, Payo. If you have the thought
Yeah,
about this piece, great.
I think I'm just going to skip some parts. Just on top of that, what I like this first of all is about it's very orchestral. I am just going to show maybe a little bit. This one, Vincent already talked.
Opening imitates the horn call that has
Like
quite a
the
melancholic
horn
tone
call.
color.
And it's mesto. It's just Liszt is a great orchestrator. Vincent mentions about that, and Wilson also. He is actually a great orchestrator, but he's also a great orchestrator in piano. So in imitating sounds. So here. It's not just imitating horn call, but what it means, the horn call. Horn call is like really the call of, like in the vast natures, they will blow the horn, and there's the melancholic tone into that. Maybe this is the rumbling thunder. Yeah. So you could watch this. I have it already in my YouTube. I'm going to skip the second thing. Also, like Vincenzo already mentioned about, it has a kind of a storyline, and same. This is like in nature's. Liszt speaks many different aspects of natures. Like the opening is terrifying, like here, and then it becomes more terrifying. Oh, and then it's becoming like very, very embracing, welcoming.
The grand, welcoming, embracing nature here.
Like the weather, like from like very, very dark and scary, and it can be like suddenly very sunshine. So that's kind of the unpredictability of nature. So that's really described very well. So I'm going to skip to the third thing that I like about this Rhapsody. It's that Wilson mentions about there is only one rule, which is no rule, and that's really relates to the poetic natures of Liszt and the Gypsies, because the Gypsies, they were not like formally educated. They just learned the instruments from being passed down generations to generations. So there's no academic in their playing, but it's kind of authentic, meaning like just be oneself, and that's actually what is really I love so much. I skip to.
Beauty is so exquisite and sincere.
Yeah.
Often
so it's the sincerity and the simplicity, which is really great. And here is an example. It's like very childlike, very, very innocent, and very, very sincere, truthful. Be as they are, no pretense.
There were times Liszt must have been fed up with politics and
for LISZT. Also here it relates to how Liszt was a celebrity, and well, there were many people who were jealous of him, and there were politics and so on. So it's kind of this becomes the sanctuary for him, where he could find sincerity and truthfulness and simplicity. the music of the gypsies.
I like personally the most from this and many other rhapsodies of Liszt. It is this poetic sincerity and kindness, the true virtue of mankind. As a celebrity, there were times Liszt must have been fed up with politics and fake friendships that crowded him. His choice of living a solitary life in a monastery later on in his life proved this. Here is the passage for an example. It is so simple, like a children's song, but its beauty is so exquisite and sincere. Often we modern mankind need to relearn what it means to be carefree like a child, and playing or listening to this kind of music reminds me this true virtue. Here is another passage
This
of
is
that
my most
sincerity and
favorite
simplicity.
one.
Again here, it is so simple, so beautiful, so magical, like a song of a mother that adores her baby and sing to her little one a sweet lullaby of most profound love. Liszt wrote here Sempre Rubato, which is truly communicating to us his demand for utmost poetic expressions. This is a solemn ecstasy in which one's spirit soars high to the stars of this universe.
I relate this to, I think if you have ever climbed a mountain, like you are on the top there, when there is no light pollution, you would be surprised, like the night sky is like really the stars, like you don't expect the night skies to have that many stars. I was just imagining, like perhaps Liszt was traveling, or the gypsy were traveling, or perhaps like just in their solitary moment and look up to the skies and just feeling so small in this universe. That is a very humbling thing they have to face every day. They really nothing in the huge nature. So that's why their music could be that sincere and that simple, because they every day, every moment of their life, they cannot be snubbed because they are facing the reality how small they are in this universe. So that's what I really like the most from these Hungarian rhapsodies, number 12 and other rhapsodies as well.
Wow, great. See, so three of them has a different perspective about this Hungarian Rhapsody. So I hope this could help you guys, and hope we all of us, right, to get the point of how the Hungarian Rhapsody is very special, right? Okay, so the last question. So this is gonna be I think very interesting, because I know among the virtuosity of this Hungarian Rhapsodies are all about the Liszt itself, or about the Liszt himself. So we're gonna talk about more about this passage. What is challenging, for you when you play this piece? What is the challenging passage about you? I'm gonna ask for Wilson as the first one, and then how are you gonna cope with it? All right, go ahead, Wilson.
Okay, I will cut it short to make it the time concise. Okay, so definitely I think one of it takes me almost 3 weeks to 4 weeks to play to get the correct notes and the correct speeds. Like this one, how to play the the cymbalum part, and then play with most ease, effortless. To play with effortless, and then everything is even. It's really difficult. And then another thing is this. This. First I was starting, okay, 4 against 3. Is it like fantasy Chrome 2? But no, eventually you just can play. No one really cares how fit you can get into 3 against 4. It's all about like guitar strumming, jarang, that kind of effect. It's not like a particular bar you need to play exactly the same thing. And then my teacher told me you have to consider what kind of piano that Liszt used at that time. He was using that Sebastian Erard piano, Well, while Chopin used a player piano, Beethoven used the English John Broadwood piano, which is super heavy. While this is a new technology with a double escapement mechanism, so you don't need to play until to the down of the keypad. The key is already hit. You can already listen to the sound, so that eventually a same legato in the unison, like you can even play legato in the same note, which you can only achieve in the good grand piano nowadays. This is what LISZT offers. It's like iPhone 14 Pro Max with all the features. All that. It's the new technologies. Okay, I will skip to this, the flexibility, because we already discussed this. The simplicity of the gypsy, how to play everything in the soothing line while you still have this grandiose feeling, I think is difficult. And then, well, consecutive double octaves. Well, you see, strepitoso is like a Prokofiev, how I tackle it, I will mention later, okay? About Ala Zingarese, just now, Pak Jo and Vincent already mentioned. I play before the Brahms Piano Quartet as my chamber music exam before, and I remember Rondo Alan Zingarese, so I was putting this as just, as an evidence. Well, Rafael Zigane, it's all this gypsies dance feeling. And then Sarazade Zigeuner Weisen, you have this all these gypsies dance to very fast, to 2 meters. So this is the one that I want to share today, how to deal with it. Okay, so first of all, when I was learning Hungarian Rhapsodies and some LISZT other pieces like Dante Sonata, my teachers mentioned it's about release immediately. This is how the Hungarian school of teaching, which not really like the Russian technique, how Rachmaninoff and LISZT plays differently. It's about releasing. So when you play the piano, so for example, don't try to hear. The moment you play, you release. Although your hand is still playing, but your energy is already released. That's why the sound can rings. How to project the sounds until 10 meters, the sound still there. It's about releasing. And then touch is on or off the key. Whether you play on, you touch the piano first, and then you play something like. How do you play straightly from the air, or you touch first and then you play? Some people say the hardest note to play in Chopin, but number 1 is the first one. This do is the hardest note forever, right? So this is how to deal with it. You need to think by our sense. And what kind of piano really matters. If I use the digital piano like now, what I have now is totally impossible. Yeah. So the next one is pedaling. The pedal, it can be our friends or our foe, our enemy. Is a very dodgy area in fact. And the last thing you need to think about is rubato. Another teacher of mine tells me, rubato is about the concept of money in the bank. Why? So because let's think about this. When we want to open a bank account, okay, let's think about this. When we open a bank account, we need to put our money first, and then we go to the ATM machine and we can withdraw bit by bit, right? It's not that, okay, I want to take loans from the bank, I want to withdraw money, but I have no account, I have no balance. Okay, I loan first, and then later I pay back with interest. Right? This is how the rubato. So it says if you want to do a rubato, you put some money first. It means you put some speed first, and then you slowly fragment the tempo. So for example, from 80 BPM, you go to 120 BPM first, and then you straight away from 120, you withdraw $10, $10 until the end. Because if not, you from 80 you draw become 60, and then when you return back later, okay, where's the interest 10%? When you go back, it becomes faster. It doesn't make sense at the end. The equilibrium is not zero. So this is how, when although it's free, there's no rules, but the general idea about the building the inner pulse is still there. And I think that is even more important, rather than just to play the correct notes or to play as fast as possible, accuracy and so on. I think that's second. The main important is how to tackle with the musical aspect first. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Wilson. Well, interesting part is rubato, right? The cost of money in the bank. That's very important. So I hope you all remember this part, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Wilson. So go ahead, Vincent. What do you think? What's the most challenging part of this piece?
Thank you. Firstly, I hope you don't mind that I showed a bit of your handwritten
Of
indication.
course.
13 years
If
old,
anyone can see it.
13 years
Wow.
old scores, because I studied this first time 13 years ago, and I still play this piece. And now indications like, let me just show it.
I think my face is going to turn red.
Your
Everybody
indication
talks about my handwriting, worse
is
than doctors.
like movie director. So, for instance, for me, is the beginning is the most difficult, because it begins with such a drama. I mean, you can, okay, maybe you are a shy person, but if you play this music, you have to give a speech like Sukarno or something. So if you go and you have to have the absolute concentration, absolute will and conviction to express this tragic and uh, dramatic passage. Yes. So as you can see here, Pak Yo handwriting, character powerful, powerful character. That means you have to, from the first note, you have to really convince, and you have to have really strong, mentally strong and conviction. I have a bit of anecdote. So I played this around 2 years ago in a concert during Corona time, and it was summer. So it was very hot, like 40 degree, and we have to wear mask, and I have a 2 hours program, and this is the final piece. And your concentration is, and the weather and the mask and everything, and you have to play this. It's kind of challenging. I mean, in this week, so 5 concerts in a week. So at the first, it's kind of tricky to concentrate at the beginning. But you have to really have this, and also in the silence, you cannot play and then fixing your glasses, and then so this silence is very dramatic, because as you can see, like I explained in the first session, this harmony is not resolved. Yes, so this freezing moment in the silence is also very important. Yeah, and of course uh, the other most difficult piece. I just telling the problem, and then the solution will come at the end. So the coda, so the stressed passage, yes, is kind of crazily difficult virtuosic piece, but you have to cope with that technically. And as you can see here, uh, again, your indications. So don't rush, because if you have very difficult passage, you tend to rush. Actually, it's counterproductive, because difficult passage, actually you need more time to control everything. Yes, and it's all about the control of timing. When I study conducting, all I can do is giving good and clear Einsatz. How do you say it in English? Cue, yeah. Give the cue and then exactly the tempo that you want, and yeah, control. And of course, as a pianist in this passage, you 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 will have to have the fire or the beast inside you, but you kind of to have to put it in the cage for a certain time, and then when it's time to release the beast, and you release, and it's gonna be great. So I think that's the problem. How to cope? I think you practice, yeah, mentally to conduct it, and I will say another Pak Jo's weapon to is cetakan ritme. How do you say it in English?
Rhythmic.
Oh, I remember that.
It's a control of timing. Everything is a control of timing and the control of yes. And that is the solution for the virtuosities, and the first the beginning. That's the paradox. I mean, you have this powerful and dramatic passage, but at the same time, you cannot have kind of fast hands. So you stuck the flow of the music if you have stiff hands and everything. Yes. So you have a kind of uh, mind to sound. So pikiran langsung ke bunyi lah. Mind directly to the so without any kind of tense, or so you need to know what you want, the sound, and you have to have the will, all the thing, and but you have to release it with the hand. So none of stiffness and everything. So this is very difficult.
Actually, Vincent, would you mind to scroll up to that opening, the one that character powerful? Because I would like to share how our interpretations changes. As you said, this was 13 years ago, right? Character powerful. I was younger, and you are still young now. Maybe you are not. You were not my age 13 years ago, right? So this is about controlling timing, and I just realized after I recorded that it's supposed to be played by left hand, but I played it by
Right.
hand. It's supposed to be easier to be played by left hand because the top notes with the thumb, it's going to be stronger here. Stronger here. Automatically, it's stronger with thumb. So don't follow me, everyone who watched me. Use your left hand. It's going to be much more pianistic using. But anyway, what I would like to share how interpretation changes. When I was young, I was focusing more on the strength. Like this one is supposed to be strong. And how to differentiate with now interpretations as I'm growing older. I am now actually focusing on the mesto, the sadness, the sorrowful one. So the distance between the grace note, I prolong it. So it's become more reflective, more pondering instead of the strong one. That's the strong one. But this one is the more pondering one. Maybe more. I think that's the influence of age. So I kind of more into the mesto than the strength, because I am surprised that I wrote there character powerful. Yes, but I remember when I played it many years ago. Yeah, I was focusing more on the character and powerful. And of course, you can choose either way. But what I shared just now is how you differentiate the timing. You can use the timing to express whatever characters that you would like to project out. Okay, so that's my additions. Sorry, did I interrupt you, Vincent, or you were done?
I'm done. I'm
You
done.
were done. Okay.
I remember all the istilah Vincent.
Really, with my night, Vincent, you still remember?
Yeah, all right. So this is a very interesting part that yang sudah Vincent sampaikan. So I believe so Payo has a different perspective as well about the challenging part of this piece. Go ahead, Payo. So you have short time here.
Yeah, actually, I actually already posted on the YouTube, so you could look there. But maybe I just going to mention one thing. It's about the ornamentations, and Wilson's also already spoke about that, and Vincent spoke about that. In the first part, we talk about the freedom, but then, well, we would like to have our audience to understand, because if freedom without regulations, then nobody will understand. Just like the way the speed, the timing, this is what I would like to emphasize, that we need to be stable when we are speaking, the flow of our speech, but it cannot be static, but it needs to be stable, and it cannot be erratic. For example, like if suddenly I speak this fast and then like you, what did you just say, like that? Yeah. So I think now, because this nature of Rhapsody is so full of elaborations,
Is
so
far
this is
above
what
its
I
taxing technical challenges
would like to mention here.
in the second method.
Nah, so in order to remember, what I love the most is about the simplicity. It needs to be simple, but the true fact, in reality, there are so many ornamentations. Now, that's perhaps the most challenge that I would like to present tonight. And how to cope with that. So when we see something like this, it's complicated, right? We need to have, for example, here I give you example. Here you see this is 1, right? And this is 2. But can you look at these 2 and you imagine this? That's what I train my students with. It's called cross-mind training. So you see this, but you imagine this. So you see what's on the left, which is complicated. But in your mind, you need to project this. Maybe I will help to notate. So this Sol, either Sol, Mi, and then Fa, Mi, or it can be also Sol, Mi, and then Re. So in your mind, you can you focus on this, or while you are playing this. So that you can do the 2 like contradictory things. First, you need to be simple, but the truth, the reality, it's so full of flowers. And I give you the illustrations in my lectures. Just imagine, like there are so many flowers on a field, and you will not have that sense of being overcrowded by those flowers, because they are so natural also. And so that's with all the ornamentations, that we need to like be mesmerized by the so many flowery ornamentations, and at the same time we can still bring the natural flow and simplicity. So that's the goals when I was relearning this piece, and of course this now is already better than many years ago. I somehow a little bit satisfied, never completely satisfied, but a little bit satisfied that, okay, I could sense the simplicity while bringing out all the ornamentations. So that's from me. I mean, the clock is ticking so fast. We could speak so
Yes.
many hours, right? Yeah. So many things we have to share.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Paya. Yeah, I believe because all of these three pianists are also teaching. That's why they also lecture things. That's why 1 hour is not enough, right? You need 10 hours to do this.